이것이 하늘의 검!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2016 League of Legends KeSPA Cup. My name is Rapid, with me is LS. We're back for our final day of this opening round of games, which means that while yesterday's games may have been some of the most even matchups that we saw today, it's going to be a little different.
Yeah, and to kick things off, we have Rising Star Gaming versus the runner-ups at Worlds, Samsung Galaxy, who honestly, they went to Game 5 against SK Telecom, so they could have been the world champions. And then in the next series, we will have SK Telecom versus KEG Chungnam.
That is very true. So we've got the first and second place Worlds team coming your way. And just to remind you guys about what happened previous days of the tournament, if you haven't checked those out, definitely go do it. We saw ESC Ever 2-0. CJ Entis, Kongdu Monster take out KEG Seoul, Jin Air Green Wings 2-1 over Longju Gaming, and MVP take a 2-0 victory over the Afrika Freaks. And this is where those wins placed them. KT Rolster, the seeded team, will face off against Kongdu Monster. Rocks Tigers, seeded into Group D, will take on the Jin Air Green Wings. And of course, the winners of today's games will play off against ESC Ever and MVP, depending on which seeds they draw.
Yep, and a little bit unfortunate for ESC Ever or MVP, no matter who they end up drawing, because, well, we assume that SK Telecom and Samsung Galaxy are the very clear-cut favorites tonight, but there's always the possibility of an upset like we saw last year.
Yep, definitely upsets possible. Stitch joining the roster here for Samsung Galaxy that you can see on your screen. Cube in the top lane and Wraith playing instead of Core JJ. So nice to see some old faces, definitely kind of digging deeper into the rosters for some of these teams. And for both Samsung and SKT, these are teams that have spent a long time on the road for Worlds. And it'll be exciting to see what form they are in after that. This is Rising Star Gaming, a team that if you've watched Challengers Korea, then you've gotten a chance to watch them all season long. They came up from the club series and replaced most of their roster coming into tonight's games. And of course, all eyes on Ketch, their jungler, previous LJL participant for Team Detonation. So it's going to be cool to see him play, joining now a Korean team instead. Let's head on stage for an interview with both of the coaches for our first two teams. Going to start things off by talking to the coach from Samsung.
계신데 기분은 나쁘지 않으실 것 같아요. KeSPA Cup 첫 경기 앞두고 계신 소감이 어떠신가요?
So asking Coach Choi, so you must be pretty happy with your opponent that you drew in this first round of KeSPA Cup. How do you feel? Coach Choi is saying, you know, it's been a while since we've played, so it's maybe a little bit nerve-wracking, but I'm sure my players can stay calm and perform well. Now, you definitely displayed a strong statement at Worlds for global fans. So, head coach Choi is saying, you know, that's definitely true, but we're going to make sure that we don't let our guard down and do our best to keep impressing our global fans. Now, Coach Lee for Rising Star Gaming. See what he has to say.
네, KeSPA컵에 출전하게 된 것도 약간은 운이 좀 따라줬던 것 같은데 그런 만큼 정말 준비를 많이 하셨을 것 같아요. 선수들 어떤가요?
Now, RSG has been slightly lucky getting into KeSPA Cup, so you must have prepared really hard for this tournament. And the coach is kind of echoing that statement, saying, yeah, we've actually worked really hard preparing for this tournament, so we're going to try our hard to do our best. So what are your thoughts about playing against the second place team at Worlds, Samsung Galaxy?
평소에 하던 대로만 하고 아무래도 이렇게 큰 대회장은 챌린저스 코리아 이후로 이제 처음이다 보니까
He says, we're going to focus on what we're used to. It's our first time playing in such a huge stadium after Challengers, so I think we have to go what we're comfortable with.
2016 리그 오브 레전드 캐스파컵 12강 삼성 갤럭시와 라이징 스타 게이밍의 경기 함께 지켜보시죠.
인사드리겠습니다. 저는 진행을 맡은 위대현이고요. 오늘 제 옆에 글로벌 중계진 그리고 국내 중계진 소개해드리도록 하겠습니다. 먼저 글로벌 중계진 LSN 라피드.
네, 다들 안녕하세요. 라피드입니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 엘리스입니다.
네, 그 국내 중계진도 한번 소개해드리도록 하겠습니다. 자, 잭 앤 헬리오스. 네, 안녕하세요. 캐스파컵 해설을 맡게 된
That was our fabulous introductions. Going to be introducing our two casters for today's game. It's going to be Helios and Captain Jack joining us, along with a list of all of our fabulous sponsors, and of course all of the ways you all can get involved with the KeSPA Cup. And of course head on over to Facebook at KeSPA LOL, hit us up on Twitter at KeSPA or at KeSPA EN, our English language Twitter, and of course if you're tweeting about hashtag KeSPA Cup on Twitter, that's the hashtag you're supposed to use. Of course, get out there, let your friends know that some of the best teams in the world will be playing here tonight. In fact, the two best teams at Worlds. So of course lots of action to talk about, and it's certainly super exciting before we get into these games to have a chance to maybe highlight a few of those teams. So we'll be heading into our match points here in just a moment. And when it comes to talking about these two matchups, at least on paper it seems very one-sided. Now this is KeSPA Cup, so there's always an opportunity for a few upsets.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of one-sidedness, I feel like the first matchup here, Samsung Galaxy versus Rising Star Gaming, is a bit more one-sided than the second matchup tonight. And that's primarily because this is a roster reset. They were trying to find a lot more talent, but a lot of the talent that they tried to acquire did not accept. And so this is a last-ditch roster. And then on top of that, the solo queue standing of a lot of these players is actually nowhere near almost any of the Samsung Galaxy players.
That is true. Although, I guess Crown, the only challenger player who played at Worlds in Korea, so he did hold that for as long as, I guess, longer than any other player. So he's going to be on top of his game. The rest of Samsung, definitely on top of their game. But a few questions to be answered for Samsung. A lot of people, when Samsung beat KT to go to Worlds, were just like, well, KT died for this. Everybody expected to see KT, but Samsung went instead and dominated. So it'll be interesting to see, if that was just maybe an easy bracket for Samsung that got them all the way to the finals. Probably not, but it'll be exciting to see them face off against the amateur hopefuls from Rising Star Gaming. And in their interview, they actually said that they were a little bit lucky. What they mean by that is that the second place team from Challengers was supposed to be invited to this tournament. That was Spenu Korea. They disbanded, and so the third place team was going to accept, but they were revamping their rosters. So that means the fourth place team in Challengers, Rising Star Gaming, elected to come here, and that's who we're about to see face off against Samsung Galaxy in game number 1.
And going into picks and bans here, we shall see if Rising Star Gaming is more intelligent than H2K were at Worlds, and if they will ban Victor in all of the games today.
We got a chance to see a pretty strong Victor yesterday. If you guys were not watching, it was Jin Air Green Wings versus Longzhu series. You'll find out new levels of exactly how much damage Victor can do. Today, banning that champion versus Crown will actually be pretty cool, but you have to read carefully because it's going to be Crown in the mid lane versus Crow, who forgot that last letter on his name.
Yeah, he forgot that last letter on the N, and you know what there is in N in? Win.
Oh my goodness, he can't spell it anymore.
Yep.
That's how much of a difference does one letter make? We're about to find out here as we do not see a Victor ban. It's first pick for Samsung.
Yep, and actually we were talking about this yesterday where Samsung is actually one of the teams where a less traditional, high power pick is actually able to be picked by this team in the Victor because it is so important to Crown.
Now, you are not seeing the bans and picks on your screen right now. Hopefully we'll be catching up and getting those up on your screen for everybody to see. They are actually going on right now, so we'll do our very best to keep you informed of exactly what is transpiring. So for Samsung, they're on the blue side, and they've banned Rise, Jace, and Nidalee with a first pick Victor. For Rising Star Gaming, they've banned Syndra, Ashe, and Olaf with their first 2 picks just now coming in, Jin and Lee Sin.
Yep, and this is a little bit of a blast from the past. This is how people used to listen to baseball and football and stuff on the radio. So again, Victor for Samsung Galaxy is the first pick, and Rising Star responds with Jin and Lee Sin.
Okay, yeah, this is our attempt at League of Legends ASMR. You're just going to listen to our dulcet tones while we talk about what's happening. So I really appreciate the bans from Rising Star. They took away 2 very strong champions for the players in question, but they left up the Victor, so you have to kind of wonder, well, are there just not enough bans to take away everything you need to? Because now Samsung's next 2 picks coming in are going to be Elise and Karma, 2 of the strongest champions in their respective roles as well.
Yep, and so, I mean, the Elise with the Victor, this is a pretty powerful 2v2 in the mid lane. Fortunately for Rising Star Gaming, they will have the counter pick available to them, and right now they are hovering Orianna. And now the picks and bans are visible on the screen. So it looks like the Orianna hover not locked in just yet.
Certainly thinking about it, for Aldulgi, he is their AD carry. New AD carry to the team. We'll see exactly how he fares on Jin. We got to see Teddy, a new AD carry yesterday, do super well for that on Jin Air Green Wings. So maybe that's the champion of choice for our new ADs out on the field. Now Stitch, not a new player on Samsung, but certainly one we don't get a chance to see all that often. He's hovering that Ivern, but with Elise already picked, probably won't see the big tree just yet.
Yeah, Ivern, unknown if he can actually be played in any other roles, but with the Elise being picked, I mean, that does look like the jungler slot is already locked up. And a Caitlyn pick, and Caitlyn and Jin, the king and queen of the AD carry role right now, so definitely not unusual to see. My only worry for RSG is that they did enable their top laner, who is arguably their best player on their team right now, the counter pick. And it looks like he's going to be going into a Poppy. So, I mean, there's Trundle available. There's Echo still on the board. Huni does like his Aurelia, but I don't think that's a pick that we'll be seeing here today.
Yeah, that's true. He only pulled it out a few times in Challengers Korea yet last season, and one of the more aggressive picks in the meta where you probably just want to see tanks. And this is going to be, like you said, that Trundle or possibly a Gnar, both very able to deal with this Poppy. Garen's just the first champion in the Korean League of Legends client, so just kind of going down the left-hand side of our champion choices to see what he's going for. I mean, top lane Nunu used to be a thing. I don't think we're going to see that coming back anytime soon.
Yeah, and the most logical picks actually would probably be a Trundle, Echo, or a Gnar, and there you have a Trundle locked in, so that will be Trundle versus Poppy up there in the top lane. And Huni has his work cut out for him against Cuvee this match, but I think the real focus, again, it will be all eyes on Crown in the mid lane because he just runs circles around most mid laners when he is on Victor.
Certainly does. If you look at the lineup for Samsung, though, I mean, you just go to the tier list of every single role, and the champion choices are like right up there at the top. So kind of insane to see how strong a draft that they did get. Over on Rising Stars Gaming, what impresses you about what they're trying to do with this roster?
The most standout thing that's a little bit weird to me is their only synergy with Orianna is either going to be if Trundle has flash up or if Lee Sin is able to get inside of the enemy team, and I don't really like that too much. And I also feel like it's pretty difficult to protect Jin with this team composition. And given that their red side, I think, hurts them a little bit as well. So while it is a pretty standard cookie-cutter team composition, that's not something that you want to take up against Samsung Galaxy, who are almost the kings of cookie cutter.
The kings of cookie cutters. Well, we'll find out if they can use their cookie cutters to bake delicious cookies of victory, LS, as we get into our first game of tonight. This is Samsung Galaxy, fresh off of their second place Worlds finish. It's Cuvee, Ambition, Crown, Stitch in the AD carry role, joined with Wraith instead of poor JJ. Now, of course, switching ourselves over to Rising Star Gaming. This is Hayuni, Ketch, Crow, Audugi, and Hayden. Not the composer, not the R&B rap artist. This is their support, and that's going to take us into game number 1. So get out there on Twitter, hashtag KeSPA Cup to let everyone know you're watching. Hashtag RSGWin for Rising Star. Hashtag SSG to support Samsung Galaxy. And of course, let everyone know that we are about to get into game number 1 with Samsung versus Rising Star Gaming. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to game number 1 of Rising Star Gaming. Team coming out in the red with their hashtag big fan across the map, playing against Samsung Galaxy. Your second place Worlds team in the blue. Back in Korea, it's been a long road for them. About to find out what form they are with both of these team compositions. Very, very standard for Samsung, for Rising Star Gaming. I'll see how they measure up. Champions that they have chosen, starting things off, like I said, with just a safe fan across the map.
Yep, and the fan out has been pretty standard this entire tournament so far. Wraith just placing a ward right there, and basically I feel like Stitch and Wraith, Samsung Galaxy recognizes that this team probably is a much weaker opponent than anything they're going to face moving forward into the tournament, and so it seems that they're experimenting with a different bot lane because they still do have Ruler and Core JJ in reserve. And so it's time to see if Wraith has actually improved in his time.
Oh, Hayden, he doesn't want to get back into that Mandarin Soul Flare, but takes half his health before he even gets into lane with the minions. So Samsung already off to a very dominant start. This isn't even the bottom lane that we saw from Samsung at Worlds.
And right now, just a lot of poke coming out from Stitch and Wraith. And RSG, not really in a very good spot. They could even actually get zoned out, and here's Crown in the mid lane.
Oh my god, okay, he's taking up a decent chunk of the minion waves, so it's not as good a trade as it initially looked, but doing a great job getting in there, being aggressive, and this is Crown's victor. I don't, out of all the players who played at Worlds, aside from maybe like, Liquid's brand, I don't think there are other players who are just so well known at their champions as well as Crown is on Victor. I don't even know what to say. Crown is just incredible. An unstoppable first blood at 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, and this game is already blown wide open right now, and I don't know what Crow's going to really do. Now, one thing is that Crown does not have his flash, but the problem is there's almost no CC for RSG with the Lee Sin and Orianna, except for a slow, which the Ghost is definitely still just going to enable him.
I mean, if you've ever seen the horror movie The Happening, this is like the boppening. It's what's happening in the mid lane, at least right now. And you find out exactly how much of a difference that last letter in your summoner ID makes. Crow, of course, forgetting the end. Let's watch this 1v1 once again.
So the problem here is you see this last minion that was about to die that would have actually given Crow the level up, and so Crown actually jumped before the level up could occur, and so Crow was missing a lot of HP that he would have gotten from the level up, and he just knew that there's no way for Crow to live because Thunderlords.
Yeah, Crow also getting hit there by just the tip of the laser, perfectly spaced. Now Crown comes back into lane with those Ionian boots of Lucidity. I guess he's just missing the breakpoint there for the Hexacore upgrade, or is there something that really those boots give you that maybe he wants to go for to push his advantage?
Yeah, oh, and up here in the top lane,
Hayuni
might die.
Needs to wait for that. I was expecting QB to like flash and then run him into the turret for the kill, but that's a little bit, it's doing the utmost. So QB staying safe for now. Ketch, though, on his way up to the top half of the map. QB around half HP, starting to heal himself back up with those corrupting potion charges. And here comes Ketch in for the first gank of the game.
This is a lot of minions
there for QB. He's actually going to try to escape by running around. There's the cripple. Is it going to hit? No help there from Catch to finish the kill, and Ambition right on time. I was expecting maybe a little bit more, but Ambition still wants to go for it. He's positioning behind the turret. Catch is there, and I guess that's a decent matchup to fight, but already some early 2v2 action in the top half of the map. Pre-5 minutes, bottom lane, Stitch and Wraith continue to put the damage down onto Aduki. There's the Piltover Peacemaker. Not going to go for the dive or anything too crazy, but all lanes for Samsung putting on insane amounts of pressure.
Yeah, and one of the things I want to point out is that if you're Ambition right now and you have 3 winning lanes, and not only that, they're winning really, really hard, you don't need to actually make ganks, you don't need to counter gank, you don't need to match gank. All you need to do is actually live in your opponent's jungle and prevent them from doing anything, and your laners will actually just win the game for you.
Well, that's exactly what Ambition tried to do. Catch was able to secure the smite, secure on his Raptor camp. Now he is farming his own jungle. Ambition in the Samsung side, and we get a chance to see what is hopefully maybe a little bit of stabilization here for Rising Star, who just maybe a little bit underprepared for what Samsung was about to bring to the table. Hyuni getting some nice auto attacks with that Corrupting Potion on the Cuvée, but while that's a good matchup for Hyuni, who, like you said earlier, LS, is probably their highest level player on the team. He's certainly been with the team the longest after pretty much the entire roster of Rising Star Gaming was overhauled specifically for this KeSPA Cup tournament. In their interview prior to this game, they said that they'd been actually practicing as this roster of the team for a couple months just in preparation for the KeSPA Cup because their dreams in Challenger were always of ascending to LCK, but they viewed this tournament as sort of a way to experience what that environment is like as they play on the biggest stage they ever have.
Yep. And right now, I mean, Hyuni, he's not doing so bad up there in the top lane. He has a 22 CS lead, but that will go away a little bit as Cuvée does have a lot of minions that he needs to farm up right now. Stitch and Wraith gonna be getting their recall. So probably expect them to come back to lane pretty strong. You see the pink wards and the BF sword now complete for Stitch.
Ooh, all right, already a big item break point for him. Otuki actually has a little bit more time to catch up in CS and before he heads back to base. He will clear the wave, head on back to grab a BF sword of his own. Catch there to catch the wave while Crow came back, but now he's actually going into Ambition's jungle to look for maybe a blue buff steal.
And they might actually get it. Ambition is on his way here right now.
He's gonna stop to clear the pink ward too, but Catch, he's actually pulling the blue buff as far away as he can. He does have Smite up. He's actually going to use the Smite preemptively and gets the blue buff away from Ambition and, more importantly, Crown.
Yeah, and that's actually pretty big because right now if Crown had the blue buff with the Ionian boots, he would be pretty free to just run around to top lane or bottom lane as he pleases because his mana would be endless.
Wraith was pretending to be a Merkwolf there. That's the juke as Shyvana where you stand in the middle of the dragon pit. Nobody notices because you're still a dragon.
Yeah.
He was standing in the Merkwolf pit. And he does recall after placing a couple of very good deep wards all the way in that lower RSG jungle. Crown trying to get his roam on, depending on whether he wants to go bottom or back up towards the mid lane. Looks like that's where he will stay. And Hyuni actually doing a great job trading against Cuvée top lane. 20 CS ahead.
Yep. Now Catch is going to be visible, and he knows that he is exposed. So now we have Crown actually moving down to capture this blue buff, and this is a fight where it's really important for RSG to be able to successfully hand this over to Crow, and oh, it looks like they're actually just going to dive bottom lane anyway.
Sorry, Otuki and Haydn, this is not your day. There's Crown trying to make his presence, so he's actually forced to flash all the way out from under turret. There's one kill. Otuki's the next to fall, and Wraith will find that final kill. Samsung dominate the bottom lane in the most I guess dominating way possible. What adjective would you use to describe what we're about to watch again?
Well, certainly an obliteration. Now, uncharacteristically, Crown actually flashed into the snare by Jhin, but it doesn't really matter. And this is just a pretty standard dive onto bottom, but uncharacteristically, actually, Samsung Galaxy called down Cuvée way earlier than was necessary, and so the teleport was entirely wasted.
Sometimes it's about just showing Rising Star Gaming exactly what you're capable of. This is like the Forgiven nightmare, where you just never get to play that 2v2. 8 champions in your lane at all times, and none of them that you really want. So rough spot, rough start for Rising Star Gaming, as now they get pushed even further back into their jungle, as now KeSPA and Wraith looking to extend their deep ward coverage up to the top half of the map.
Yep, and right now, I mean, the top tier 1 turret looks to probably fall, as Ketch is not going to be able to aid that at all, and we already see Huni back in the bottom lane. This is not a very good lane swap that they're trying to initiate, because it's going to keep their bottom lane underneath pressure for no reason, and they would actually just be better off conceding the top tier 1 outer turret so that they would have lanes coming into them so that they're able to farm it, because it's still too early to begin mid lane sieges.
Yeah, it's only 10 minutes into the game. That's pretty early for just about everything, but we've already seen some dominance exerted. Crown with the 1v1 solo kill, as most 1v1s are. Dragon has not been necessarily started or contested, but with a Dark Dragon, well, it's a water dragon, but it's dark in the area of the dragon. It certainly could be done by any team. Trundle might need a little bit of help if he wants to take that with RSG, but see what Ambition has in store for this top lane as he makes his way up there. The new wave gets cleared out, but right as the next one crashes in, see if Ambition can make his presence known.
Yep, and now we have Crown actually rotating up after shoving in the mid-tier 1 turret, so this tower going to be poised to fall as well, and this is the problem with this rotation that RSG initiated, or handshook on basically, is that their bottom lane just keeps getting more hurt, and that's not something that you want to happen, because a Jhin, we're approaching almost 15 minutes, and Jhin doesn't even have 2 components to his first core item. He's going to be completely useless in the mid-game.
Exactly. Hotuki, I don't know if he's quite ready for this level of the pressure that Six was putting on him. Now, Ketch is trying to go in and make at least something happen, but with a repel there, back onto Hyde, he's the first casualty of this fight there. Hotuki actually has to stop his ultimate to try to find a kill, and he will actually help Ketch secure that away. So, a 1-for-1 exchange, the best fight that Rising Star has had this series.
Yep, and I would say it was kind of a victory. They did manage to at least get a kill. They need something at this point. And, I mean, the death onto Ambition probably not going to do too much at this point. Fortunately, they are able to resist the push onto the tier 1 mid-turret as Crow looks to recall, but he's down quite a bit in CS, and we're just going to take a quick replay, and the monitor goes out. Oh, and we can't see.
All right, well, either way, we just got a chance to watch that. Ketch actually coming in, able to secure that kill on Ambition, which is what we're seeing right there. Does put his team on the board as the newest member of the roster. It's kind of exciting to see what OP LJL strats he's going to bring with him from his time spent in Japan on Team Detonation. Whether or not he's taking up like a leadership role at this point, because it certainly seems like they do need some leadership. Ambition Stitch now 2-manning this Ocean Drake, which won't necessarily be the most terrible dragon for RSG to give up, but Samsung certainly on top of pretty much all of their objectives.
And right now they're looking to siege the mid-tier 1 turret, and it doesn't look like there's going to be much resistance. This will probably go down before RSG.
Oh, flash for flash there. Cocoon misses off of Crow's disengaged. Shockwave repelled away from. Here comes Ketch. Might look to kick Ambition back in, and he will. Ketch, though, in the front lines, does stay alive for a little bit longer. Here's Hotuki with his final hour, or the curtain call, rather. It's going to be a dead mid laner there. Crow out of there, and Hotuki out of mana. And out of health there on that outer mid-tier turret, mid-lane turret. Second-tier turret, now the one being beset by Samsung as they call KeSPA down to continue their push.
Yeah, and I mean, you can just sort of see some of the inexperience of RSG shining through right now as they're making decisions that are very solo queue-esque. And it's not really looking like they have much experience in a competitive environment, because a lot of their macro-based decisions and choices of where to defend or how to try to take fights is very poor right now.
They do defend their second-tier turret. Hyuni actually pretty tanky with that Tiamat completed, but now we're going to see the flash for flash. Talk us through this fight.
Yeah, so Ambition was able to repel right out of the Shockwave, and at this point, Crow comes in, and then he ends up stepping on a Caitlyn trap. And at that point, the Chaos Storm from Victor was actually too much, and unfortunate for Crow, he was actually walking to his death after he chose to walk around the turret that way. And right now, there's a 4,000 gold lead at 15 minutes. and a lot of that gold is inside of Crown's Victor.
Ooh, getting a blue buff on top of all of that. I think the rod is not the only thing that is needlessly large. Crown, absolutely gigantic at this point in the game. He's going to set up for one of the earliest Flame Horizons we've seen in this entire tournament. If he does keep that farm going the way that it is, already 50 CS up on his lane opponent at 15 minutes. Crown, Ambition, Wraith, and the rest of Samsung really just kind of living in this Rising Star jungle. The sun is about to set on the stars. I guess the stars rise as the sun sets, so it's not the best analogy either way. They are certainly up against the wall, up against the second place team at Worlds, and not a whole lot going in their favor.
And right now, as this siege begins, not a lot of damage going down onto the turret, but that is going to be okay. Catch manages to get away right there.
Not quite as okay. He, oh my god, the damage on the hide takes him down to half health. Just a trap and a laser.
Yeah, and they will persist on with their siege, and Jin not having a lot of hit points right here, definitely susceptible if Ambition can manage to land a cocoon, but they keep managing to at least clear the waves, so managing to live another day, and we're actually, oddly enough, seeing the Water Drake play a pretty key part in these early game sieges, because it's not every day that you get to see tier 2 turrets across all lanes get threatened at 16 minutes.
Not only the turrets being threatened, but also pretty much the lives of the entire RSG team. Here comes Catch with a nice play to kick Crown into Crow. I think that's right where Crown wants to be. He's going to get pulled in. There's lots of damage, but the Chaos Storm too chaotic. He's going to trade the 1-for-1 in what was a pretty sick gank by Catch. Crown just too strong at this point.
Yeah, and while the trade is good for them gold-wise, they do actually manage, or they end up losing their bottom tier 2 outer turret, and so still going to be a gold victory for Samsung Galaxy here, and now they look to try to raise the tier 2 mid lane turret, and that one does not have as much hit points.
Down to around 400 or 500. Top lane, the trade was good for Hyuni, but that's just because he used his Subjugate. Now with that spell on cooldown, we'll see if he can actually still keep this fight alive. Looks like he will be going for it up in the top half of the map. He is fighting a very, very dangerous game. There's going to be Cuvée missing the ult because it's flashed away from Hyuni, playing that very, very closely, cautiously, but in the end, he's the one to lose his summoner.
Yep. And now Huey... Ooh, hold on 1 second. So here's the replay of this. So Ketch actually going for a pretty interesting insect, but the problem is that Crown just deals so much damage, and even though he ends up eating everything, you see that Crow actually mispositioned during that trade and got locked up by the gravity field, thus resulting in his death at the end there.
Could have been a little bit better position there by Crow, but still nice to see Catch still with the mechanics to make these kind of plays happen. Not going to get Rising Star Gaming back into the game by any means, but for the time being, no one's dying, and that's certainly a welcome occasion for the red side Challenger team. A team I actually did get a chance to watch quite a bit of in Challengers last season. They didn't look that great, so they've revamped their lineup, like you said, gotten what seemingly are better players on paper, but just not up to the level of this very dominant LCK level team in Samsung.
Yeah, I was actually talking to their first candidate for 80 carry to try to be picked up, and after seeing that they drew Samsung in their first round of the round of 12, he said that he was thankful that he did not have to come here today and play against them on stage.
Well, it's great experience. Either way, maybe it's a great experience for Samsung to get to play against teams that are maybe a little bit easier than SK Telecom. We'll find out if this attack's quite as good. A flash away there, right to kick in, but once again he's trying to be a Merkwolf there in that little pit. Otoki is going to be able to flash all the way over the wall. That's a Dyrus-esque flash. He's able to make a long flash away. Is it long enough? Otoki actually trying to run his way away. Cuvée taken very low and he goes down there. Samsung maybe overextending just a little bit as they lose their top laner.
Yeah, and they did lose Cuvée, and they lost Flash on Cuvée, Wraith, and Ambition, but if you look at the summoner spells for RSG, that took everything they had to manage to stay alive right there and actually find the kill onto Cuvée, and so I wouldn't really call that a victory. The gold is nice, but not having any of your summoner spells when Baron's going to be on the board now is a pretty rough spot to be in, especially because they're so reliant on Ketch and Hyuni having their flashes up to either coordinate some sort of play with Orianna's ultimate or just find an insect onto one of Samsung Galaxy's members.
And when it comes to looking at exactly how Rising Star Gaming are performing, at least Ketch, who out of all of the players probably has the most competitive experience, even if it is in a wildcard region like Japan, he's in the right place where he needs to be, able to mechanically execute appropriately. He's been punishing Crown for being out of position a couple of different times and has the best score on the team. So at least one facet of this Rising Stars roster is working out for them. Now, pretty much every facet working out for Samsung. Rising Star is like, you know, the diamond you dig up and you're like, oh my goodness, this has a flat surface. Samsung's like the diamond that you dig up and you're like, wait, this is actually the crown jewel. So they certainly are looking, okay, well, they were looking great until Crown got his blue buff reset. But he should still be able to take that one down.
Yep, he will get it right now, and oddly enough, it'll benefit him a little bit more as the blue buff duration will extend, and oh, this is a little cute by Ketch,
okay,
actually.
well, Stitch is here, and Crown trying to get in onto Otoki. We'll see if they can find it. Oh, Caitlyn, unnecessary. Now Ketch is about to ditch. He saw what happened. Saw what you did to his friends. He is out of there now, trying to. He's in a great position. He recognizes his flank is strong, but he might just actually try to kick Stitch into the turret. If he is still tanking it, then that could actually work out pretty well. But either way, he's just trying to maintain the good positioning while Samsung seem undeterred.
Yeah, and you know, even if he does find an angle, I'm not really quite confident that RSG even has the damage to delete anyone. Shield from Wraith is probably more than enough when you factor in just how quickly Samsung Galaxy can respond to any sort of a Lee Sin ultimate. So RSG is in a really, really rough spot right now, and I wouldn't be surprised if Samsung Galaxy goes for a Baron in the next few minutes here.
Take a replay to find out exactly what happened. This is another Crown highlight reel right here. Let's watch this damage. Can you count it? No, it's just too much.
Yeah, and I think that what Ketch was expecting was someone to try to come up to the lane in a more traditional way, but they didn't have any sort of vision to really read if someone was going to come from behind, which clearly they weren't expecting. And unfortunately for them, it was Crown, who is just able to basically delete Otogi from the game.
Basically everywhere Crown shows up turns out to be pretty unfortunate for whoever else is there at this point. 5-1-1, 2.5 completed items with that full hex score. Starting to look a little bit rough. Now, Crow has maybe kept pace with his CS deficits, so he's not going to get Flame Horizoned anytime soon. But at the same time, there are some signs of life. Like we said, for Rising Star Gaming, Ketch looking great. Hyuni actually doing a great job in his 1v1. But let's find out how this fight's going to go. Ambition dominates Crow, and now Hyden desperately trying to escape there, but Crown's not going to let him go. He's going to turn on the Chaos Storm onto Ketch, who just can't escape quickly enough. Crown's pretty fast. You're not going to run away that easily. A double kill for Crown in the mid lane. His Ambition already setting his sights on Baron.
Yeah, and he has already started it. Stitch arrives, so this definitely will be a Baron going down to Samsung Galaxy. And I mean, at this point, we're probably looking at like a 26-minute or 27-minute finish, because after this, they're all just going to recall, pick up a few more items, and then look to make the march up one of the 3 lanes. Because at this point, any of those 3 lanes are going to be pushable lanes, and you can see Cube actually managing to push Hyuni back here.
I think he's looking for the kill there, and he might actually just get it flash away. There's the turnaround as Hyden comes back in. I'm not sure if Cube is necessarily too worried about that. He's going to be exhausted in the middle of these Baron mages, but those might actually be what turn this Baron back around. In the end, it is Hyden that helps compose Hyuni's victory in the 1v1, turning into a 1v2. Maybe unfair, but hey, at this point, you have to make it work. And I guess another pick onto Cube is certainly makes him look like maybe the weak link to Samsung if Rising Stars are going to exploit anything.
Yep. Right about now, we are approaching, well, we actually are over 10,000 gold ahead for Samsung Galaxy. We're going to take a quick replay of what happened right here. And so Stitch managed to actually eat the entire combo from Crow, but it's not going to matter. Ambition came in from behind, locked him up, they got the delete. Crown right here did not get knocked up by that ultimate from Ketch, and so because of that, Nami falling, and then Crown's just able to chase down Ketch and finish him off at Wolves.
Now back at live, we actually did have another insect attempt there by Ketch, but look at Crown's damage, so immense. There's the rest of Samsung pile on in. Otoki does walk backwards, Cube almost dead again, Ambition very low, Ketch gonna go in, he's He's going to find one. Can he find another one? KeSPA healing and staying alive there. The Karma Shields, in the end, too much to deal with. And that's a full 5-man ace for only Ambition's life as Samsung crack the Rising Star base.
Yeah, and they're probably just pushing on to the Nexus at this point. Stitch has red buff. They still have Baron minions. They have a Poppy, which never dives.
Nope, not especially that Poppy Karma combo has been something we've seen several times already this tournament. It's so immortal there, KeSPA. Not gonna die this time around. Maybe the Nami did. No, okay, not gonna happen. The Nexus turret's down, and at 25.5 minutes, Samsung threatening to end the game right here. Hayune and the rest of Rising Star Gaming come off to try to keep this Nexus alive. A nice kick there from Ketch to finish things off, but at the end of it all, it's a 17-6 victory as Samsung Galaxy take out Rising Stars Gaming in, if we were Spanish, would be called a stampeando. That's actually the word for it.
All right, well, I mean, it was an annihilation, and it all started going downhill with the trades in bottom lane and the trades in mid lane. Crown getting the solo kill at level 2 in mid lane. Everything just went absolutely horrific for RSG, and honestly, I can't see anything else going different for game number 2. But if they want to do something, they can start off on the right foot by banning Victor.
Great champion choice to ban. Of course, there you can see the Victor pilot himself on your screen. Crown, robbed of his crown at Worlds just ever so slightly, but big smiles on at least Ambition's face, so you know Samsung, they're having a good time.
Yep.
A little bit of a contrasting image there in the Rising Stars Gaming booth. Definitely some communication going on there as well, so some things to fix as they head into game number 2. KeSPA Cup single elimination, so 1 game away from advancing to the next series unless something goes terribly wrong. we see all of the Samsung players kind of just fall over in their booths. Maybe that's going to give it to Rising Star, but they'll need to show if they can rise to the occasion in game 2. That should be coming up in just a few minutes.
Yep. And we will actually find out who the winner of the series will play against immediately after it. So it'll either be ESC Ever or MVP. And if we are just talking, what would Samsung Galaxy want if they do end up winning the series? Probably they would prefer to play against ESC Ever. MVP not looking so bad yesterday, and also lots of aggression early on, which Samsung Galaxy is not particularly known for, even though they did show off a lot of it in Worlds and in the past game.
We'll head out to a break and be right back with game number 2 of our first series of the night.
Next.